Today, I'm joined by an author and counselor, Marie Britel, whose powerful new book, I Love You When, offers a deeply moving, fictionalized account of her own journey through narcissistic abuse. Through the eyes of her heroine, Emma, Marie unpacks the hidden dynamics of covert narcissism, generational trauma, and the illusion of the perfect family. Drawing from her own work as a journalist, lecturer, and grief counselor, Marie bridges the clinical and the personal to shed light on how emotional abuse festers behind closed doors and how we can break the cycle. This conversation is about truth, awakening, and the radical courage it takes to share your story. Marie, we're so happy to have you on Trauma Undone.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, what inspired you to write a fiction novel?
So,
And not like a
I
memoir
have,
or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like you went the fiction route, which is so fascinating to me.
yeah, so it's in fact, I have to admit, when I was writing the book, it's my story,
Yeah.
you know. And meanwhile, I was writing the book, I was still in the process because I was, let's say, inspired by my own family.
Yeah.
Because I myself grew up in a narcissistic family household. That means both of my parents are abusive or were abusive. And this was, in fact, the reason how to cope with this. And I'm a journalist. I studied journalism. Writing was always a very important tool for me. And yeah, writing the book was for me 9 very intensive months to get into, I would say, first of all, the emotional part, because when we get traumatized, what psychologically happens and what we all know is probably that we are trying to avoid the feeling or to feel the emotions. And that's what happened also to me. But when you write, you have a safe, let's say, safe perspective, because you can, write about somebody. And my heroine is called Emma, and I gave her the name Emma, but in fact, it's me. And this, yeah, brought me to writing about this heroine for 37 years, how she discovered what happened to her, how she got finally to know that it was not okay, and how to, yeah, deal with it and how to break free from it.
So in your own personal life, and if I ask you stories that are too, ask you questions, sorry, stories. If I ask
You
you
can ask
questions
me
that are
everything.
too personal, just say you don't want to
No,
answer.
fine.
So how did you realize that you had grown up in a home that was abusive?
It took me a long time. And I have to say, I grew up in Germany. So in the German culture, it's like very clear. And I know that it's also in others. When you have food, you have a bed, you can sleep, in a safe environment. You have to just shut up. You can't complain. You have everything that you need. You go to school. So in my case, I have to say, I was educated by parents who had never a problem with money, not when they grew up themselves, but my father was very successful in his career. So he would always go to vacations with us. We would go to Mauritius in 5 luxury star hotels. We would, fly with business class. So this was quite normal to us.
Mm.
And this was also even more yeah, strange to feel that something is wrong. And this is also what I really want to show is what you see from outside, like, if there's money or a big house or some, vacations that you do, it doesn't mean that emotionally wise there's nourishment. So it took me so long because when I opened up to somebody and I would complain, or I would say, oh, this is not so good, or my father would say some bad things to me, or my mother would not, save us from something, people would always say like, oh, you are so unthankful. They are working so hard to, give you this life, to, make everything possible, like education, school, whatever. And so my intuition would always like tell me to not complain too much, to just be thankful, blah blah blah. But I had a lot of symptoms since I was very young. I had depressions. I had eating disorders like bulimia. I grew up with two brothers. Like, one of my brothers also suffered under bulimia and depression. So all these symptoms, body symptoms. I also had a cancer when I was 21, was like very, very, early, would not fit with what you would see from outside. And this is why I always say it's my mission to explain how important it is to take care of your mental health as well as your um, physical constitution. But yeah, this impacts a lot, like stress and sadness and anger that you are not allowed to express for children is very bad, and it stays in your system.
So, to the outside world, you had the perfect family, and everything was, so wonderful, like the life of Riley. But in behind closed doors, it was not like that. It was very different. So, what kind of impacts did that have on your ability to trust, your perception of the world, um, as you were growing up and when you started to realize what had happened to you?
Huge impact. So I have to say, in the beginning, I was not so much aware of it because everything that I just told you about symptoms like depression and things like that, I always tried to work on it because I always felt like I'm the problem. It's about me. I'm born like this. This is my problem. I have to, find a solution and to work it out. Um, it starts, and this is also something that I know from my clients that I work with, or also other people, when you go into a relationship when you're an adult. Because the first relationships that you are in or you learn to be in is with your parents. And so this is how you learn how to be in a relationship, how to be with somebody that you love. In my case, it was calling people with bad words. For me, it was totally normal that men would treat me very bad. I would always fall in love with a narcissist or with guys who are not treating me nice, or who I could like fix. um, and this became bigger and bigger and even more hard to work on, because at a certain point you have to give up to work on yourself, because what to work on yourself, because you know that you work so hard and you try to be the best version of yourself, and you physically, I wanted to be thinner, I wanted to be more beautiful. Psychologically, or like in a partnership, I wanted to give this man everything that he wanted, he needed, whatever, but it was never enough. So, and this is like when it feels like you have a black hole in front of you and you can throw everything inside, energy, money, love, everything, and it's never enough. This is like a very bad feeling, and at a certain point you are out of energy. And then I met my now husband 12 years ago. And again, my mother would, yeah, interfere in my relationship, tell me he's a narcissist, he's a bad person, you can't trust men, you can't trust people in general. This is how I also grew up, because what narcissists take from you is trust and safety, feeling of, safety. So, but there was a glimpse still in my intuition that in this case, this man gave no reason, not even once, that he would abuse me or be a bad person or doesn't mean it. And he was the first who would say from outside, like, Marie, are you sure that this is normal? Because honestly, I don't think this is normal that your father would call you a slut, or that your parents would use you for everything and not even say thank you, and they would always put you full of guilt and everything. So I always call it, I know it sounds very harsh, but it is like in a family system that is so unhealthy. It feels a little bit like in a sect, and they have this the quite, same patterns and the same tactics, manipulation tactics. So what they do is they isolate you from the outside world, and this is very easy with children. You just have to tell them people are bad. If somebody's nice to you, you cannot trust him or her. They definitely want something from you. People would never do unconditionally something for you, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
So this is something that, your self-esteem gets very much like not really developed like for a healthy person. And this makes it very easy to stay in this trap, because it feels more comfortable to stay in this environment that is even abusive. And my father was physically abusive. He was beating up us all, but it still felt more safe when we were children than going out of the world, because the outside world would be so full of anxiety for us. So this was also things when you grow up and you move out and you have a relationship and you have a job, that people have also sometimes panic attacks and they don't know where it comes from. So the normal and natural feeling of being safe and having a certain trust in the world and in life is not there. This is very hard. So this is when, with my now husband, I started to realize something was wrong. And then I found a very good therapist, and I have to say he's good in, there are a lot of good therapists, but he understood that there are parents who are not always good with the children, because usually the mother is like a healing figure, or how you say in English, it's like, the holy mother. And also he is like, always the parents are never to put blame on them. So usually therapists in Germany, they try to, put everybody together, even if there were some things that are not good. But in this case, he was very good. And in 3 years of therapy every week, I would realize more and more that there have been a lot of treatments, and the way how I was treated, that was not okay. And then I found my way out.
So when you're growing up in a household like this, you don't know any different. It's
Yeah.
normal. It's just the way it is. So once you started to realize that it was not okay and you were not in a safe environment, how did that transform you and change your identity with the person that you developed up to then?
Totally. I have to say, it feels like I was dying. I have to say, it was really like I was dead. And then I am now a totally different person. I would say, um, in my, not in my character, because my character is still the same, but in my daily life. So I used to be very much control. I had a lot of control. I was in everything, like always in advance. I would never, try to never do anything wrong in my business life. I was always on time. My taxes finished, no problem, like this. I was always very loyal. If somebody would need me, I was there. And now I'm the most chaotic person in the world. And I don't know how I did all this before, because I still have a good schedule, but for me, it feels now as if I would only do 20% what I did before. And this is what I call trauma energy, because what changed a lot was, in first terms, what is my reason to be here? Why am I on this planet? What do I want from this life? I totally requested everything that I did in the last 40 years, or let's say 20. Um, and I was grieving a lot of moments where I said maybe I would have, studied something different. Maybe I would have chosen a different area where to live. Maybe I would have made a lot of different decisions. So this is also something that comes up. And what I'm really still working on is really to make my own decisions regarding, do I want to meet this person or not? Like my plans, because before the focus was always for others, and now the focus is on me. And this is also that I see a lot of survivors from narcissistic abuse need to learn from you. What is good for me? And am I allowed to do it? Can I say no? And what is the penalty for it? So, and I have to say that I have to tell you this story, and this is like very weird, but when I really stopped to be in contact with my family in the beginning, I didn't want to meet new people because I was so scared of them, because I thought, when they just invite me, I have a little dog, and I met a couple at the beach because we live also in south of France. They invited us for dinner, and I said to my husband, we can't go there. He said, why? I said, they will kill and eat us. I was so scared, and I really meant it. And for 2 nights, I couldn't sleep because I was so sure something is going wrong. And he would say, no, they are not. We have, our dachshund. He's going to take care of us. Haha. He would try to, and then we went there, and it was fantastic, and we met the sweetest people ever. And this is also something that neurologically is built new, because you need to build a lot of new good, not memories, or memories with people to gain trust in life. So in people, in relationships. So you make one step after the other to, and this is really exhausting.
It is. But you meeting your now husband and having been in, unhealthy relationships too, then, was there something, had you started doing some like inner work on yourself to recognize that that was more healthy?
Yes. I started to work psychologically wise. I worked with a therapist. I worked with some coaches who do constellation work. So this is work with your inner child and your unconsciousness to bring up all the trauma that came. I made a lot of spiritual work also, because from childhood on, and this is also that I recognize a lot with people who have gone through trauma, that they are very sensitive, or high sensitive even. And it sounds always so romantic, like, oh, you are so sensitive, and this is a gift, you are so talented. But in fact, my opinion is that this is a coping mechanism, because when you grow up walking on eggshells all the time, your senses are so good and work. So you really, like, you go into a room and you feel everything. So I worked also to understand, is this too much anxiety, because a lot of panic attacks and anxiety, and to differ from it. And I also worked on myself, meditation. I went to India. I tried a lot. I have to say. And this is also something that I would always recommend. Not
I'm also a believer in that. I just try everything because something might work, and trying, because also once you've peeled back the first layer of the onion, now that other thing might be the key. So Marie, so you were saying that you were a little nervous publishing it the first time.
Yes,
So how did you gain the confidence to then, now
step by
be,
step.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really like, first step was, okay, I'm publishing it now in the US in English. Then I got the first feedbacks. People would encourage me. People would send me messages. I read your book. It's my story. And then I gained more and more confidence on it. And then I published it in Germany, and it was the same. Until today, I never got even one negative feedback. It's amazing.
I can imagine. I think it's just it's shedding such a light on this topic that people don't really talk about,
Yeah.
and people don't really understand it, because when you're a kid, I just feel like when you're a kid and you're growing up, this is normal. Like, you're not in someone else's house. You don't really know how someone else is living. So you only have this one experience. So I truly thank you for writing your book and sharing your story. So you help people write their books, you help people do so. Can you explain a bit of the process and how you work with people?
Yes. So most of the people who come to work with me now, they know that I'm specialized in toxic relationships and toxic patterns. Usually, clients are coming to see me because they are aware of that something is wrong, and this is always that they spot a pattern. So even either they spot a pattern, like they tell me, oh, I have the third or fourth time a guy who is ghosting me, a guy who has cheated on me, somebody, who didn't treat me well. I still stayed with him. Then we can work on this pattern. Sometimes this state is long before, it's only, I don't feel very well. I feel like something is wrong. I don't know why. I'm not happy. Things like that. I talk with them, but I also do a lot of constellation work myself now, because
Okay.
my experience is that talking is good. You really need to go through things, and but at a certain point, if you have understood everything cognitively, it's great. But you have to also bring your inner children, or the inner parts of you, to the same level of your adult being. And if they are not connected and they are not communicating with each other in relationship, it shows like, oh, you are not you are with a man, for example, and he's the bad, he's the one who is guilty, he's the reason why I'm not happy and everything. So what I do is always to try to work with the client on him or her,
Mm-hmm.
and not on changing, because sometimes I have clients who come and say, if my husband would just do this and this, everything would be good. And then I'm always like, yeah, but we can't work on him. This is not our thing. He needs to work on himself, and first we work and change something that you have maybe also brought into the relationship. And this is also very important when I work with toxic relationships, or with, I never say people are toxic. I always say the relationship is toxic. So this is first always a shock for a lot of people, because they see, oh, but this partner is narcissistic, or this partner is really bad, and he's the one who is abusive. But if you have if you have still been there for a longer time after a lot of abuses happened, then you should ask yourself the question, why are you still there? Because a healthy person with a healthy self-esteem would maybe once let this other person, being abusive, maybe even twice. But third time, no, you say, you do your shit on your own. I go my path, and I'm too I'm too good for this. Not too good, but I want to stay safe. And this is the moment when you are still there. You have to question yourself, why am I still there if this person is still abusive? And we have statistics that in Germany, every third day there's a woman killed by her partner or ex-partner.
Wow.
Yeah, really bad. Statistics are horrible. So it means the unsafest place for a woman at the moment in Germany is her own house.
That's
And
wild.
and these are only the facts that are, giving to the statistics. I don't want to know how many are not officially, so there's a lot of things that need to change also in the roles of men and women, how to work on misogyny, how to change the picture that a lot of men are growing up with, young men, that women are bad and women are, to be hated and everything. And this is also how they are growing up, how they are treated, and how they are spoken about women by their own mother, for example. This is a huge topic. So it's not only a problem of of a client, it's or one person, or you and me. It's a problem of the communities. It's a problem of the society.
So, for somebody who suspects that they are in a toxic relationship, what do you recommend that they do?
So first thing is analyze, read a lot. There are very good books out there, in English, in German, in now a lot of good things. And work on yourself and not be alone. Seek for help. I always recommend to work with a professional person and not with your friend. You can also, go to your friend and see and tell them about what is going on, but seek for somebody who is neutral, because this person would also be more or better in spotting your own patterns. And be aware of your own patterns. So work on a therapy base. It always depends also if somebody's already very low in depression, if they are already taking tablets or things like that. It's always recommended to be in an environment with medicated therapists. And I would also recommend to try a lot of things. So if you're going to a therapist and you feel this is not really good, because what I also see a lot with victims of narcissistic abuse is the first abuse is the narcissist, and the second abuse is when you go to therapy and the therapist doesn't believe you, and he or she says, well, it's your mom, it's your partner, they don't mean it, like this, so this is really horrible, so go somewhere else. And also, what I recommend is when you have grown up with such patterns, you are a very good victim for love bombing. So be very strict with you when it comes to relationships. Um, Take your time and take a step back. The best thing that I always recommend when you feel you're in a toxic relationship, if you can do it, take a step back, maybe also geographical wise, like, if you share a same household and you have children, I know it's very hard, but if you are not share, if you don't have children together, or you don't even have two houses, take a step back. And I also say it's like with the alcohol. You say it takes 3 days that the alcohol is out of your body.
Well, Marie, thank you so much for being with us today. I so appreciate it. I'm so glad that you shared your story. And you're doing amazing. So it's so wonderful. And you really are a light, showing that you don't have to stay where you were. You don't have to accept the way that you were brought up, and it can change. So thank you.